This is an example of a brick that was used in a late Ming Dynasty wall building project. It's very heavy, it's about 20 kilograms. We don't know how they were moved. I've seen one reference in all of my readings to a brick-carrying horse. Other than that, probably lots of human power was used in moving these bricks up into the hills. If I was faced with the task of having to bring one of these up to the wall, I'd think it's pretty heavy. It's not a job I'd want.
Xi's plan calls for 3,000 towers, spaced every few hundred meters, along a wall 1,000 kilometers long, 10 meters high, and 3 meters wide. In some places, new towers are added to old sections of wall and the wall rebuilt. Elsewhere, solid turrets are replaced with open towers, a new wall built between. But always, the wall follows a strategic line across the tops of the mountains. For this monumental task, Xi is given just 5 years and 20,000 men.
So Xi decides that in order to achieve this, he's got to organize his men into companies of about 250 men each. And they are going to build for him 70 towers in that year. That means that each company has to build one tower every 5 days. These men have got to work day and night without stopping for the entire year. But Xi had the great advantage of using the troops that he had disciplined, trained himself, and brought them up, and he could rely on their competitiveness to build the wall within the time limit that the court had given him.
The Great Wall project is more ambitious than anything the Ming Empire has ever undertaken. By the late 1570s, it is consuming more than 3/4 of the government's income. But there is another cost that doesn't appear in the accounts: the human cost.
They were, far from their families. They were just working together as an entire unit. It must have been extremely hard, extremely difficult, very, very heavy work and exhausting beyond speech.
The pressure is on Xi to deliver. And the one force he knows he can keep driving as hard as he needs is his own army. But there are limits. Malnutrition, exhaustion, and disease take their inevitable toll. And for those who die far from home, fellow workers become family, scattering token money to pay for a friend's passage to the next world, to rest at last.
We buried Fong today. He was from the south, like me. He had a family somewhere. My love, we're so hungry and exhausted all the time. I sometimes think death would be a relief. But that would be a betrayal of you. So I carry on for your sake. I've heard they'll make us stay and serve on the wall when it is finished. So even if I survive building the damn thing, I may have to stay and defend it.
For centuries, workers like Gang Zhou have been the forgotten heroes of the wall. Who they were and where they came from has rarely been recorded. Histories of these men have been almost totally unknown until now. Wang Tao is an archaeologist from London University, used to digging in the ground for evidence of the past. In the Great Wall, he faces a challenge. The most revealing insights are found not so much in the bricks as in the descendants of the people who laid them. And that is what he has come to find. Outside a village to the east of Beijing called Dongjiakou, he takes a tour with local historian Zhang Heshang. Zhang takes Tao on a climb 1,000 meters up and 500 years back to the heart of the wall-building project. The past here lives because of the efforts of men like Zhang. 40 years ago, he discovered the building records of each tower carved on stone stelae inside. The stones themselves were removed during the Cultural Revolution, but not before Zhang had made copies.
The most important stone stele was placed in one of these towers just over there, and the names of all the important officials who are involved in this construction are recorded here, including General Qi Jiguang. And on the back, there are all the names of the ordinary workers, builders, carpenters, all related to the reconstruction, and their descendants may actually live in a local village, become a part of the local history.
The end of the climb is what Zhang is most proud of, and what makes this section of wall unique. Every single tower in the district is named after a family in the village.
Mr. Zhang is saying this is called a Zhang family tower, and it's constructed by General Qi Jiguang. And he recruited about 9,000 soldiers from south, from Zhejiang, Yiwu. And Mr. Zhang's ancestor was among those 9,000 soldiers. That is why this one is called the Zhang family tower. 那你父祖上是就是守这个楼吗？
对，就这个张家楼。
张家楼。您对这个张家楼的，我们上您家看一看。看看。这个门楼很漂亮。
The actual lives of the soldiers can only now be reached through the folk memory of the villagers. And because every village name has a tower and a history to go with it, Zhang has started recording the oral history of the entire village, one family at a time. Starting with Mr. Luo Zhanhua.
Most interestingly is that Mr. Luo's great-great-grandfather's tomb is still there, still very close to the wall, and that can go back to Ming Dynasty. And they have about almost over 20 generations all kind of lived in this village. And when they come here, they were southerners, and they didn't mix up with the northerners, the locals. And a story they were talking about was that one year there was a famine and no food, and all the locals were coming to the wall, and the Zhang family tower and the Luo family tower, they were kind of fighting over. Basically, it's fighting over very little food to survive. And I can probably imagine many people would die.
综艺包括4个大字。
这个故事您知道吧？
For any monumental project, team discipline is vital. And when it breaks down, for whatever reason, it must be seen to be restored. Examples, however painful, must be set.
Faster!
For the good of the war.
Get them on their knees. Heads down. Draw your swords.
What's going on here? Why have you stopped working?
Put down your swords. Sir, that was a fight. We're making an example out of the ringleaders. But don't worry, sir. We'll make up the lost time.
That depends how many times you have to do this, doesn't it? Haven't you enough to do without fighting? You. What's your excuse?
We haven't got enough wood to go around. We're worked to death and treated like slaves. Is that what we are?
No. You're my soldiers. Paid workers. All of you.
We only get half of what we owed. What's the point of money when you're dead?
You're working to protect the Empire. Yes, there are hardships. But as a soldier, I am prepared to sacrifice myself, my life, to protect my home and my people. Those of you who have fought with me, you know that. You know what it means.
There's no man here who will not die to protect our families and our homes. But they are 1,000 miles away. All we see is bricks and stones. This is not a battlefield. It is not even our home. This is just one long headstone for 1,000,000 graves.
On his knees. Bring out the swords. Sir, on your command.
The wall will not build itself. And it will not defend itself either.
Send them back to work. And get them some food from somewhere. I don't care where. Cha!
Put down your swords. Set them free.
Xi's new design was, in a way, revolutionary. It used a new structural form, but Xi realized that without the men to build it and to exploit its potential, it was absolutely nothing.
Xi issues orders for soldiers' families to be allowed to join them and settle along the length of the Great Wall. Having once turned farmers into soldiers, he returns those soldiers to the land to live, build, and fight for their homes. The fact that men like Mr. Law are here shows the policy worked. But as Wang Tao discovers, its success owed much to the resilience and fortitude of the men themselves. At Dongjiakou, starvation had threatened the lives of the soldiers and the future of the project, until Mr. Law's ancestor saw a solution.
When his ancestor first arrived here, there was a food shortage, and people were fighting over a very little bit of food. And then they discovered the apricot trees. Mr. Law's ancestor and the other soldiers began to gather the wild apricots and for food, and later on they decided they want to plant them. So they gathered loads of them and then planted them all along the wall. And so as you can see now, the whole landscape and the whole mountain is full of apricot trees.
And for Mr. Law's ancestor, the gesture he inspired not only averted starvation, but ensured the Law family would be here for centuries to come. The grave of Law's ancestor lies directly beneath the family tower. Its inscription barely visible after 500 years. But for Wang Tao, it's a chance to connect with an actual wall builder.
This is extraordinary. It's Mr. Law's family or ancestral tomb. And the title here, it's actually say the important or highly important ancestor, Lord Law, was buried here. And obviously, Mr. Law, his ancestor, was the garrison commander of this tower. That's why it's called a Law family tower. This is a family personal story, which I have never known. And then now, standing together with Mr. Law, the descendant of the soldier Law, close to Law family tower, I think it's just bring me really back to the whole history. And also the people who kind of, as part of war, and then I feel kind of, I'm becoming part of as well.
Today, the entire Law family comes to honor their illustrious ancestor with offerings for his spirit. And to plant, in his memory, a single apricot tree. A memorial to one soldier who helped build the Great Wall. By 1575, the first sections of Qi Jiguang's wall are complete. His dream is becoming a solid and impregnable reality. On it stands an army he has trained to exploit its strength. An army now 20,000 strong, devoted to him. The young soldier who once dreamed of serving the empire has now created its ultimate defense system. Not only is it the most ambitious, it is also the most expensive project of the age. And with the hopes of an entire dynasty riding on its success, it had better work. By the mid-1570s, the Great Wall is advancing at a rate of a new tower every 5 days. Yet Qi Jiguang knows it will be tested by Mongol attack long before it is complete. In the Beijing archives is a remarkable set of maps showing how Qi's Great Wall defenses were designed to work.
Out to the far northwest, you see a pass between two mountains through which the Mongols would normally trade or raid. Then you have a series of outward observation points. Then you have a series of beacon towers, signal towers, and they're on the top of a range of hills. Then you have the Great Wall with all the forts. Then behind that are the headquarters of the various brigades of Qi's soldiers. If there was an attack, they would march out to the Great Wall to defend it, or even go further. So what Qi was able to develop was a very complex system. The wall functioned in different ways. And the men had to have an understanding of their function in the total system.
Guangzhou is now part of Qi's defense line, in an observation unit in front of the wall. One of Qi's greatest innovations is to introduce cannons, copied from Western models and now manufactured in China, an integral part of wall defense. The unit's job is to intercept and slow any attack, while at the same time alerting the wall defenses. No one knows how well this new system will work. But on this March day in 1575, the perfect opportunity to find out materializes from out of the steppe.
They're coming! Thousand! Get yourselves organized!
While Mongol raiders charge towards the outer defenses, on the wall, the alarm signal triggers a well-rehearsed response. Men and cannons are mobilized in minutes. The job of advanced units is to try to slow the attack. But the Mongols keep their eyes on a bigger prize: settlements around the town of Dongjiakou, where Qi Jiguang himself happens to be stationed. Inside the wall, the warning system has alerted the main garrison, and a counterforce is mobilized. This is the moment of truth for Qi and the wall. Whether the attacking force might try to scale the wall or break through the unfinished sections, no one will ever know. The historical records recount that Qi's force was able to meet the invaders beyond the wall. where his superior forces could be made to count. History also recounts Mongol prisoners are taken, including the brother of Mongol leader Chang'an. The Battle of Dongjiakou is won, and it is a defining moment for Qi Jiguang. He has proved that his Great Wall system works, with him at its head, inspiring the victory. At court, those who have criticized his project are silenced, at least for now. And the wall is declared a success. For his personal heroics, Qi is rewarded with 2 kilos of silver and the personal gratitude of the emperor. It's an encouraging start. But Qi Jiguang is looking to the future. When his wall is finally complete, he will be the gatekeeper of the north. And potentially more than just another general. A few days after the battle, a chance to play the role of statesman appears, in the shape of Mongol leader Chang'an, returning to the wall to bargain for the release of his brother.
Is he still alive?
Yes.
If I were to make an offering to secure my brother, who is the man I must make it to? Is it the Emperor? Through you? Or is it you?
It's me.
So what does it cost to get my brother back?
Your brother can go free. If we can be free of you. If you can guarantee that we will no longer have to pursue you and run you down, then yes, you can have him.
Despite their agreement, the same tribe will renege on its deal and attack again. But again, the wall will defeat them. Unbreakable, its brooding power sends a clear and unmistakable message that the Ming Empire can and will defend itself. And over time, the growing security brings something new to the border. The first signs of peace. On some of the towers in Dongjiakou, there are the unmistakable marks of domesticity. Clear evidence that some soldiers had the time and inclination to decorate their homes. Perhaps, as Wang Tao believes, under the influence of their wives.
Before I came here, I thought these towers were just military tower. When I came here and visit these towers, I feel it's home. Of course, it has its function as military device, but if you look both sides of the wall, you actually see, no, it's not. It's actually very much part of people's life and home life, because when you walk down the cliff, you walk in your own fields, and you see your own wife, your own kids, and then actually we can see in Chinese history, it happens all the time, people being uprooted, rerouted, and I think the Great War has rerouted so many people and has created a new life for so many people.
Gang Zhou is now a senior member of Qi's garrison and has settled his family in the village below the wall, now part of a new and growing frontier population. In what was once only a conflict zone, inhabited by raiders and soldiers, agriculture thrives and the population grows. The peace dividend of the Great Wall. It gives Qi the confidence to demand the funds to finish his great project. So far, only 1,200 of his originally planned 3,000 towers have been built. The wall will only continue to work, he warns the court, if he is allowed to complete it. However, in Beijing, the cost is already ringing alarm bells. So far, 1,200 towers and 1,000 kilometers of wall have consumed 550 tons of silver, 2.5 times the Treasury's income for the last decade. For many, it is proof that Qi's project was always overambitious.
Basically, Qi had, in a sense, solved the problem. But still, when it's successful and you can keep the peace for 15 years, then people start to say, well, why are we wasting so much time, money, and effort against what is, essentially a nuisance? Maybe, just a few raids by Mongols, that was not going to be too problematic.
Oblivious to the court's concerns, Qi looks ahead to the next phase. He turns once more to the man who has always supported him, who has always pulled the strings in court to provide him with funds, Grand Secretary Zhang Zhuzhang. But the more Qi demands from Zhang, and the more Zhang tries to give him, the more their power is seen by the court as a threat.
Qi and Zhang Zhuzheng had their enemies at court. They were just simply waiting, biding their time.
And at last, that time has come. There is a new emperor on the throne, who listens to these new counselors.
The great danger, as was always the danger throughout Chinese history, was if a powerful courtier linked with an equally powerful general. In Chinese, that was the military and the civil getting together. This is what always brought down a dynasty.
Looking for ammunition to destroy the Qi-Zhang alliance, their enemies find it in the Great Wall financial records.
Grand Secretary.
I hope you're not going to ask for more money. I can't help you. Do you know what they're saying about me? Grand Secretary Zhang has cheated the imperial person. He has plagued the population with taxes, accepted bribes, sold government officers, and advanced his henchmen. That's you, by the way.
What do they say about me?
I said, Majesty, those henchmen preserve the empire and your imperial person in continued safety.
What do they want? They demanded protection while protection costs. You only know it's worth paying for and it doesn't work. Tell them that. Tell them we need more towers.
Don't even think it. There is an indictment on me for charges of corruption. Did you know that? All it needs is for the emperor to sign it into proclamation.
And what am I supposed to do?
If I were you, I'd stay away from me.
As the emperor's former tutor, Zhang is spared prosecution for the time being. But for the next few years, Qi's ally remains under attack, until, worn down by the ceaseless strain, Zhang Zhuzheng dies. The partnership that built the wall is broken. Now, with his only political ally gone, Qi himself is open to attack. And the most effective weapon at his enemy's disposal is his alliance with Zhang.
A provincial examiner in Zhang's employ confessed that Zhang had placed before candidates to imperial office.
In court, Zhang's crimes are re-examined, and a conspiracy with Qi is discovered.
A clear attempt to create a suitable atmosphere for an impending takeover. Furthermore, and I quote, General Ji Jiguang is to make his army available. We can only surmise what for. That before his death, Grand Secretary Zhang Zhuzheng had plotted to take over the throne.
I find it hard to believe that my old tutor had the intention of usurping me from my throne. Yet, it is clear that he and Commander-in-Chief Qi Jiguang have had the capacity to do so. This is too ominous to be ignored. I mourn the loss of Grand Secretary Zhang, and can only assume that he has been blinded in his old age by the overwhelming ambition of Qi Jiguang. He has violated the divine principle of balance. We have had enough of Qi's demands. We have had enough of walls.
Stand by! 1, 2.
For years after Zhang's fall, life on the wall has gone on as normal for soldiers like Geng Zhou. Yet Qi's political enemies in Beijing have not been idle. And now they are ready to make their move. Qi has years of correspondence from Zhang, in which he promises Qi his personal support and hints at deals done behind the scenes. Words that in the wrong hands could be twisted to look like conspiracy. so Qi puts them beyond reach. And a lifetime of friendship and the record of their wall-building partnership is erased. It was Qi's ambition that drove him to build the wall for the sake of the empire.
Get back to your first position.
Yeah.
Now the empire fears that ambition so much, it is ready to get rid of him.
You. Go.
The only question that remains is how they will do it. If a case of treason can be made against Qi, he will be summoned for trial, and public disgrace will be followed by private execution. But Qi is ready to defend his record.
Regional Commander Qi Jiguang is to step down with immediate effect.
He has underestimated them. There will be no trial, no chance in court to speak the truth. Just quietly sacked.
Sure.
For common soldiers like Gang Zhou, the end of Qi defies all reason. The army is losing its father.
General, he doesn't remember me. The great captain is gone.
Qi Jiguang retires to his hometown. Within the year, he is dead. He leaves behind 1,000 kilometers of Great Wall and towers, the most comprehensive defensive line in China's history. But still not finished as he intended, and with him no longer there to make it work.
Qi Jiguang was the heart and soul of the wall. You needed a man with Qi's vision to use the wall not only as a static barrier, but as an offensive weapon against the Mongols. Once Qi was gone, then the Ming just retreated behind the walls. The real problem then was the Ming did not know what was happening outside the wall.
Outside the wall, the Mongols were teaming up with a new enemy, the Manchu Empire, the next dynasty in waiting. It is 1644, more than 50 years since the death of Qi Jiguang. The Great Wall system he built still stands. Yet behind it, the empire is crumbling, crippled by the weight of defense costs. Now corruption in court, neglect of defense, and peasant revolt push the Ming dynasty to the brink of collapse. And beyond the wall, the Manchu army is coming.
The Manchus were a much more organized and unified force than the Mongols. They moved in systematically. They launched raids on China in 1636 and 1638 as they moved in on the Chinese Empire.
Sweeping down from the northeast, the Manchu approached the Great Wall at Shanhaiguan, where historian David Spindler enters the town from the Chinese side, heading for the most fortified gate in the history of the wall, once called the First Pass Under Heaven. It is here, on May the 27th, 1644, that the Great Wall is finally breached, without a single drop of blood being spilled. On the same day, 500 kilometers west in Beijing, Emperor Chongzhen, the 16th Ming Emperor, leaves his palace for the first and last time in his life. His empire, riven with rebellion and corruption, is bankrupt. He is drunk.
In the spring of 1644, the capital of Beijing was taken over by a Chinese rebel leader. So at that time, the Chinese Empire was not a functioning entity. The country was really in collapse.
With the Manchu army approaching Shanhaiguan, inside the town, Chinese rebels have taken control, and the garrison commander is ordered to surrender.
His back was quite literally up against the inside of this wall, and he called for help from outside of the wall, which is quite ironic because the people outside of the wall are the ones that it was built to defend against.
The most impregnable defenses in China's history, never once taken by force, are now opened to let the enemy inside, in a last desperate bid to save the failing empire.
This is an exciting place to be because I know that this is where it happened. I'm in one of the three places through which the Manchus streamed on May 27th, 1644. They overran the country and they stayed. And they ruled China for the next 200 or so years.
As the Ming era closes, the Great Wall experiment closes with it. The coming centuries are marked by more outside threats. Yet this time invasions do not come overland from the north, but from the wider world across the oceans. And so for hundreds of years, the fabric of the wall decays. Today, the skeleton of the great dragon is all that remains of the beast that once lived. But its spirit lives on. Not just in the bricks and stones, now being restored across hundreds of kilometers, but in the Great Wall of iron and steel, the modern army that protects China today. And ultimately, in the Chinese people themselves.
I am just emotionally overwhelmed by a creation that has lasted for hundreds of years.
The Great Wall means so much to the Chinese people now. It's a symbol of the strength, the history, the culture, the future as well. I think you have to say what a wonderful achievement for the Chinese people.
Coming up next on 4, a video exclusive of the new track from Oasis.